All right, I hope everybody's having a great day. I haven't done a video in a while, and that happens from time to time, and it will again. But I want to make one actually in response to a video that Whisperstadus put out about adjusting your expectations for 4K. Now, this is a response video, but I don't want it to be seen so much as a rebuttal as much as I would like it to be seen as a contribution, because I think he makes a lot of good points. But there's also a few things that are biasing Brian or Whisperstadus74's opinion on the expectations that you should have for a 4K display. And I'll get to that shortly. First, I want to preface this video by saying, maybe giving a little bit of a channel update. And that's simply to say that I'm going to be doing more response videos. And I guess really what I want to do is maybe present this channel not so much as a journalistic channel, but as a personal kind of commentary on my interpretation of video games and the way I absorb information throughout the media, whether it be a website or Facebook, or as in my case, primarily YouTube. So, from time to time, I'll interject pieces of information from my own life. A lot of times, I'll have these extras noted on the description, but just bear with me in case I put a title on a video about a certain topic and it takes me a while to get to that topic. I'm kind of going fast and loose here. It's just the way I like to do the video. It's very much a hobby of mine, and again, I'm really not approaching this from a standpoint of a journalist or an information distributor. So much as just me, 9th Gen Gaming, talking about my views on games, life, and whatever else. I typically try to stay away from politics. I've got my very own particular political views, which aren't the most popular, so I tend to be, not, basically I have potential potential offending a whole lot of people, which is not what you want to do when you want to get your ideas across to a broader audience. So things that, may not be pertinent to what I really have a passion for, I kind of just try and keep to myself. Kind of like if you own a restaurant, and you want to get as many people in your restaurant enjoying your food, you might not want to be as offensive, as you might otherwise be. But I digress. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a channel update and let you guys know the direction I want to be going in. But getting back to the whole situation with adjusting your expectations for 4K and HDR, I think that as far as Whisperstadus74, or you, Brian, if I can call you Brian, there may be a few things that prejudice your views on it. I'm going to preface this by saying that I went from a 55-inch 6400 Samsung F to a 75-inch 4K HDR Sony 900E. So it was a huge jump, okay? But I can understand somebody who, such as yourself, who has had some of the finest televisions that mankind has ever produced, not just for a few hours, but in the actual home condition for weeks, if not months at a time, to be able to appreciate all the nuance and all that they have to offer, and then have to basically go with something that, while isn't as dazzling, or while isn't as offensive in a lot of regards, it also doesn't dazzle the senses like the 940 or the Samsung 9800. Another thing also is you're coming from a plasma television which has excellent black levels to begin with. The far majority of people are going to be coming from a LCD, which is typically edge-lit, especially, I think most all of them were, if I'm not mistaken. So when I look at the whole situation of upgrading, and while I can definitely say that while I'm blown away with the 900E, there are some things I wish that I would have had available to me when making my choice, which eventually brings me to 900F, but that's later on down the road. While it was a huge jump, yes, there were things that I might have been able to benefit from if I had a broader choice. I'll say this: the Samsung 6400F, while it was a high-level, low-end, or mid-level, mid-range television, from what I understand, was a relatively large TV and relatively high quality compared to the televisions, a lot of televisions that people had that I knew. A lot of people I had in my family, 40-inch televisions, 42-inch televisions, 52-inch televisions, none of which were as good as my Samsung 6400. So we can say, you know what, the Samsung was just not that good of a television. But when you take the population in general, it was, in my estimation, in the top third as far as quality TVs that you would have out there. Now, that's not an official statement, that's not a research statement, that's just based on what I've seen, and maybe I know people that don't have as nice stuff as some of the people you may know whisper, but that's just been my experience. So I believe that's about as nice a television the average Joe would have, a 55-inch Samsung 6400F. And going from that to the 900E was a huge jump. Now, I also want to give this other caveat, and that is I never bothered to invest in a Blu-ray collection because I got into the whole Blu-ray 1080p game very late, in late 2013. By then, by that summer, 4K televisions had already been introduced. So I already knew that I was going to eventually end up with a 4K television and a large format one as well. I knew that I wanted something 65, 70. Once Vizio started putting out those 70-inch 1080p and eventually 70-inch 4Ks, I knew that I wanted something at least 70-inch. It was just a matter of for how much and how much better would they be getting. When I saw, I think it was a P75 C or whatever that was with 60 zones, that really perked my ears because I thought, well, this has got HDR, it's got excellent black levels and whatnot. The things that kind of pushed me away from that television were the fact that there was no built-in tuner, and everything that you were doing on a Chromecast device instead of an actual interface on the TV screen itself. So I waited a little longer, and eventually Sony came out with that CES in 2017 CES. They came out with the E-Series, and I was pretty much sold. So, having said that, I noticed that the few Blu-rays I've gotten, which were Lord of the Rings, and then I just recently watched Game of Thrones, the entire series. Now that I'm realizing they're coming out in 4K Blu-ray, I almost regret having watched it already, but there's so much going on in that plot line, it warrants a second playthrough, and so I'll go ahead and own it for the sake of posterity on 4K Blu-ray. I'll probably buy the entire set. Hopefully it won't be more than around $200 when it does come out. Hopefully sometime either next year or the fall of next year. And my point being is that they look excellent, and they look excellent because of the upscaling, which might be something else that also prejudices anyone thinking that the 4K doesn't bring that much to the table over Blu-ray. These high-end televisions are designed to bridge the gap between 1080p and 4K. So that might be, if you were to truly do a comparison, what you would be doing, and this is not, I don't want this to sound litigious or disrespectful or any kind of a challenge or anything. I just want it to be factually based, just my point of view, and see if that enriches your point of view. So if you really want to make a true comparison, you would put what is considered a high quality, very high quality large 60-inch plasma display up against your 75-inch 4K. Another thing I want to put out there, which is something I beat to the ground, and that is, with the exception of a high-quality OLED in a 65-inch, for the most part, if you really want the benefits, which are twofold: A, greater immersion because of screen size, and B, greater amount of detail, then go 75. Go 75. And 75 is that magic resolution for a couple of reasons, or maybe three. First of all, you're going to get greater density at 75 inches than you would, let's say, the most popular, which is 55 inch on a 4K display, 55 inch for the 1080p. Secondly, you still, even though you're getting that increase in resolution, you're still getting a much bigger display. So you get the bigger display at a higher resolution. That is a two-punch combo when you really think about it. And the third one is escaping my mind right now. So if you guys will give me a second, I can think about it. But that's very important. And so you're going to, and the third one is actually being able to notice the difference in resolution. Okay, so yes, you have the greater amount of detail, which you may or may not notice, but it is a psycho visual effect. The greater area of resolution, which is more immersive when coupled with the greater amount of detail. And thirdly is being able to tangibly notice it, to tangibly see, oh, here's more detail. I can make out hairs. I can make out the nuance in the shadow because of the HDR. Just finished watching A Wrinkle in Time, which, you know, I can kind of understand how it was panned by the critics, but it was a children's movie, so, you know, continuity errors and, you know, just a rushed plot line in general, you know, aside, I'll tell you, visually it was stunning, and it was a heartwarming story with a great message. But that was driven home so much more because of the visual impact, the environment. I couldn't help but ask myself this: my gosh, is this really what movies mean for me right now? Is this what watching a movie represents right now? And it's a little mind-blowing. It's a little crazy to think that this is what the medium has evolved to. So, yes, temper your expectations, but also know, for the average person, going from a mid-range 1080p television, especially one, because most people wouldn't have gotten a 70 to 75 inch 1080p. I remember seeing them on display and thinking to myself, my God, these televisions are kind of grainy. They, you know, the image looks diluted and washed out. Quite the opposite with the 4K 900 series. Now, I know the 900 series isn't exactly flawless, and I also understand that a lot of people are going to be coming in from 60, 65 inch, 7100, or 8000 series, and I mentioned those in the Samsung because it's televisions I actually thought or wished I could have if I could afford them. I was literally this close, and I'm holding my hand like I'm making an inch here, this close to purchasing going back and returning my 5500 for or 55 inch 6500 for a 60 inch 7100. I thought it would be a much better TV. I thought better of it because I thought, you know, for the money, it's really not going to make that much of a difference, and it's just a hassle. So I'll go ahead and stay with the 55, especially when I know that I'm going to be upgrading to an amazing 4K. Which, ironically enough, it brings me to the issue of having gone to Best Buy and seen the 900F. And while for me it's an amazing television, it pushes the envelope a little bit further than the 900E. It doesn't warrant an upgrade. But for those who may have had maybe a nicer type of 1080p display and would like maybe a little bit bigger of an upgrade when they eventually make the jump, especially to a 75 inch, the 900F would be an excellent choice. You're going to be getting your upgrade you're going to be getting excellent Blu-ray playback along with 4K Blu-ray playback. All right, guys, that does it for me. I'll see you guys later. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Bye-bye.